Welcome to the Explainer. Okay, let's jump right in because we have a lot of ground to cover today. Have you ever, genuinely stopped to think about what work actually is? Today's Explainer unpacks a fascinating philosophical concept that completely flips our modern understanding of employment totally on its head. We're going to explore a radical framework that challenges literally everything we know about the daily grind, and it offers a completely new way to view our careers, our bosses, and yes, even our bank accounts.
So, let me ask you this. Why do you actually get paid? No, seriously, take a quick second and really think about what your salary represents. Most of us, right, would immediately say we get paid because we're trading our time, our physical labor, or our mental energy for money. I mean, we need it to survive. But the ideas we're exploring today tease a completely different reality. They suggest your paycheck represents something else entirely.
So conventionally, we view work as this simple, often really stressful trade. You give your physical or mental labor, you get basic survival in return. You put in the hours, you get the means to pay rent. But what if we completely flip that? What if, instead of wages for labor, your salary is actually an allowance given to you for your social education and personal growth? I know, it sounds wild, but this framework completely removes that stressful labor for money dynamic and replaces it with a continuous journey of lifelong learning.
All right, so let's look at Section 1, the workplace as a school.
Think about it this way. When we're young, we are in what we can call the school phase. Our parents raise us, teachers guide us, and maybe we get a little allowance to cover our basic needs while we learn, right? Well, according to this philosophy, when we enter the society phase, that dynamic doesn't actually end, it just evolves. Your boss essentially becomes your social parent, and they're tasked with guiding your continued education out in the real world. Your company? It's not just a place of business anymore. It's literally a social school. And that salary you're eagerly waiting for every month is framed here as an educational expense. It's the allowance society provides to fund your ongoing personal and professional growth.
And this doesn't just apply to small mom-and-pop shops. In this framework, big, massive brands like LG Chem or Samsung, they are simply the names of the social schools you're currently attending. Whether you work at a tiny local cafe or a massive multinational corporation, the brand name on the building is basically just the name of the academy where you are currently enrolled to learn how the world works.
And as you'll see, this education really builds over time. It's a chronological journey of a social student. You don't just stay stagnant. Spending 3 years at a company is about learning the basics of that specific environment. Once you hit 5 years, you start establishing a real professional identity. People begin to recognize you by the institution you study at. And if you stay 7 years, well, you graduate to the next level of identity. You become a full representative of that culture, like a true Samsung man. You have completely absorbed the lessons of that specific social school.
Which brings us to Section 2, redefining your salary.
So if your salary is an educational allowance, the source argues it absolutely shouldn't just be hoarded away in a bank account. It's meant to be actively invested in your internal growth. And that means spending it on things that expand your perspective. Think about sharing a meal of pork and some coffee with friends to build deep social bonds. It means absorbing culture by attending the ballet, going to musicals, reading 1 or 2 books a month, and experiencing cinema. In this framework, money is a tool. It's meant to be actively spent on cultural absorption and human connection to enrich who you are as a person.
Actually, there's this beautiful idea in this philosophy that I love. It says, a single movie allows you to sit and see 1,000 miles, taking in global culture without leaving your seat. I mean, how great is that? It perfectly emphasizes the immense educational value hidden within our everyday entertainment. You don't have to literally travel the world to absorb global culture. Your educational expenses pay for a movie ticket that brings the sheer vastness of the human experience directly to your mind.
But, and this is a big but, what happens if you ignore this? Extreme frugality, hoarding money while actively avoiding cultural experiences, it leads to what the source calls low internal quality. If you just save every single penny but never grow your mind, the argument is that you're left incredibly vulnerable to scams, bad decisions, or even illness. And honestly, you'll probably eventually lose that money anyway. The alternative is actively investing in cultural experiences. That builds high internal quality and true, lasting life resilience.
Okay, let's dive into Section 3, the true regular employee. Now, in a lot of societies, securing a position as a regular or full-time employee is fiercely sought after, mostly for the financial security. But this philosophy completely reframes that dynamic. Being a regular employee isn't about demanding more money or better perks from a company. Not at all. It is entirely about establishing deep mutual trust with your social parent, your boss. The focus shifts completely away from fighting for financial compensation to building a secure, trusting mentorship. The ideal attitude you want to adopt sounds a little something like this. Trust me as a regular employee so I can work without anxiety and focus on my activities here. It's not about asking for a pay bump, right? It's about asking for the stability to dedicate yourself entirely to learning and growing in this social school, without the looming anxiety of job instability. It's really just a request for the space to focus on true growth.
Moving on to Section 4, the Hongik Ingan destiny.
To fully grasp the monumental scale of this philosophy, we really need to understand the concept of Hongik Ingan. This is a uniquely Korean philosophical concept that describes a person whose ultimate overarching purpose is to broadly benefit humanity and lead the world to peace. It's this ancient historical ideal, and it serves as the ultimate highest goal in the entire framework we're exploring today.
And the assertion here is just grand and impartial. It argues that citizens born in modern South Korea are actually destined to become these Hongik Ingan leaders. The thought is that the entire societal structure, including these social schools or workplaces, is fundamentally designed to train this specific generation to eventually lead and heal the world, completely regardless of their current social class. So every job is literally a stepping stone to this massive purpose.
When we trace this full journey, it completely elevates the daily grind. First, you enter the social school of your workplace. Second, you use your educational expense to absorb culture and build trust with your mentors. And third, through that profound internal growth, you evolve into a leader ready to benefit humanity. It takes a mere survival tactic and transforms it into this sweeping, grand, philosophical destiny.
But there is a stark warning here too. Those with a clear ideology who understand this greater educational purpose, they will naturally gather together and build the future. But those who fail to find their purpose and merely chase money, well, the source says when society inevitably shakes, they will fall away like autumn leaves in the wind. It's a pretty profound, poetic reminder of how absolutely crucial it is to find true meaning in the work we do every single day.
So, I want to leave you with this thought-provoking question. If your workplace is indeed a school, what are you learning today? I really encourage you to look at your own daily grind through this entirely new lens. Are you just trading your labor for basic survival, or are you absorbing culture, building trust, and preparing for something far, far greater? Keep that in mind the next time you clock in. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.